In today's fast-paced society, the profound art of silence has gradually faded into obscurity. We're constantly surrounded by chatter, noise, and distractions, but what if the moments we intentionally remain silent held just as much power, if not more, than the times we choose to speak? When was the last time you truly contemplated the meaning behind your silence? Stoicism, an ancient philosophy rooted in self-discipline and rational control, offers timeless wisdom on mastering the self through reason and emotional resilience. It's a philosophy that teaches us not just when to speak, but more importantly, when to remain silent. Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism, once profoundly stated, "It is better to stumble with the feet than with the tongue." This quote sparks a deep reflection. How many times have we regretted the words we spoke impulsively, especially in anger or haste? But Stoicism doesn't merely advise restraint. It empowers us to wield silence as a deliberate force for inner growth and lasting peace. Imagine confronting adversity not with outbursts or defensiveness, but with a calm and composed stillness that says more than words ever could. In the Stoic tradition, silence is far from passive. It is a deliberate act of strength, a conscious decision that can resolve conflict, shield us from harm, and deepen our understanding. So when should we choose silence? Let's explore 10 powerful scenarios where remaining silent is not only wise, but transformative. As we journey through these reflections, consider how adopting Stoic silence could reshape the way you navigate relationships, challenges, and your own inner world. What if a measured pause could end a heated argument better than any clever comeback? What could silence reveal about your emotions and thoughts that words often obscure? Join us as we uncover the sacred moments to embrace quietude, guided by the ancient Stoic masters. Are you ready to unlock the deeper wisdom of Stoicism? If so, take a breath and let us begin. When others criticize you unfairly, Stoicism views it as a profound opportunity, not a setback. It's a test of your character and an invitation to demonstrate inner fortitude. Marcus Aurelius, a revered Stoic emperor, reminds us, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. This wisdom urges us to shift our perspective. Often it's not the criticism itself that wounds us, but our interpretation and emotional reaction to it. What if instead of feeling hurt or defensive, we calmly assessed the critique and responded with grace? Imagine you're leading a major work project and receive scathing feedback from your superior, feedback that feels unfair or even personal. A Stoic would pause, examine the comments objectively, extract any constructive points, and discard the rest. As Epictetus taught, it's not events that disturb us, but our judgments about them. Rather than rushing to defend yourself, let your work and your consistent conduct speak on your behalf. Holding your tongue in such situations is not weakness, it's a calculated expression of maturity and strength. Stoicism calls us to focus only on what is within our control, our thoughts, our emotions, our responses. When you stay composed amid unfair judgment, you transform potential conflict into a statement of integrity. Your silence becomes a shield, protecting your peace of mind and serving as a quiet testament to your strength. Moreover, in a world that often rewards boastfulness and reactive behavior, practicing restraint can inspire others. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." In this context, silence amidst slander becomes a beacon of self-respect, reflection, and poise. Life will always bring criticism, some of it fair, much of it not. Instead of engaging every harsh word, Stoicism urges us to rise above it. Use those moments to grow. Remember, you are not what others say about you. You are how you choose to respond. Visualize this. You're at a professional gathering and a colleague is loudly flaunting their achievements, their salary raise, exotic travels, or expensive possessions. The urge to respond with your own accomplishments might feel tempting, but Stoicism invites a different path, the quiet power of restraint. Choosing silence in such moments isn't about insecurity, it's about self-assurance. Remaining quiet lets you conserve your energy for meaningful dialogue rather than engaging in a battle of egos. It subtly communicates confidence, implying that your worth isn't dependent on validation from others. As another Stoic principle teaches, he who does not return one favor for another is not being ungrateful, but wise. He may return many at once when the time is right. In modern terms, this means we don't need to match ego with ego. Let your actions, not your words, define you. Ask yourself, how often do you feel compelled to respond to someone else's boast with one of your own? What might change if you instead listened, acknowledged their success, and quietly redirected your focus back to your personal goals? Adopting Stoic silence during boastful conversations fosters an environment free from unnecessary competition, where growth is inward and validation comes from self-reflection rather than external approval. Try it. The next time someone seeks attention through self-praise, offer them the space to speak without interruption. Smile, nod, and remain anchored in your own quiet strength. In doing so, you embody a presence that is more impressive than any boast. Anger is like a storm. It arrives fast, strong, and chaotic, but within that emotional chaos, Stoicism offers a powerful shelter, the intentional pause of silence. Epictetus advised, keep silence for the most part, or speak only what is necessary. In practice, this means resisting the urge to lash out when emotions surge. Imagine a coworker makes a careless mistake that throws off your schedule. Your first impulse might be to raise your voice, but what if instead you chose silence? That pause allows clarity, it diffuses tension, and more importantly, it prevents damage. Marcus Aurelius offers this insight: how much more grievous are the consequences of anger than the causes of it. Most often, it's not the triggering event, but our reaction to it that creates deeper suffering. Consider Nelson Mandela, a global symbol of forgiveness. After enduring years of unjust imprisonment, he chose not to respond with fury, but with grace. His silence in anger became a guiding light for reconciliation. To be silent in anger is not to suppress your feelings, it is to manage them. This type of self-control leads to better communication, deeper relationships, and a more peaceful mind. Here are some Stoic strategies for mastering anger. Identify triggers. Understand what sparks your anger. Is it a person, a situation, or a pattern? Reflect. Ask why these things affect you so strongly. Often, it's our interpretations, not the events themselves. Accept reality. You can't control everything around you, but you can always control how you respond. Practice mindfulness. Stay present. Don't dwell on past offenses or future worries. Use breathwork. Deep breathing helps you regain balance in tense moments. Pause before reacting. Even a brief moment of silence can change the outcome. Shift perspective. Try to see the situation through the other person's eyes. Detach emotionally. Step back. Look at the situation objectively. Channel energy positively. Use frustration as fuel for something productive, whether it's exercise, writing, or problem solving. Communicate with clarity. When you do speak, express your thoughts calmly and assertively, not with rage. In short, silence isn't surrender, it's strategy. A Stoic pause can turn destructive emotion into powerful insight. By adopting this practice, we transform anger into wisdom. In human society, rumors often spread like wildfire, fueled by curiosity, drama, and sometimes malice. These whispers, though often baseless, have the power to distort truth and damage reputations. However, Stoic philosophy offers a timeless and graceful response. Deliberate silence. Consider the case of a respected schoolteacher in a quiet town, suddenly entangled in false accusations. Rather than rushing to defend herself with emotional denials or fueling the fire with reactive explanations, she chose restraint. Her decision to remain silent wasn't an act of weakness, it was a conscious demonstration of inner strength and trust in her integrity. She allowed her consistent character and past conduct to speak louder than any words ever could. Marcus Aurelius, a central figure in Stoic thought, wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." This quote reminds us that while we cannot control what others say or believe, we can control how we respond. And sometimes the most powerful response is none at all. When lies and misinformation swirl, immediate rebuttals can seem justified, but often hastily spoken defenses add more chaos than clarity. Silence, on the other hand, acts like a shield. It doesn't validate falsehoods, nor does it lower you to the level of gossipers. It holds space for truth to eventually emerge, unsullied by reactive emotion. Ask yourself, How many times have rumors faded on their own, forgotten like yesterday's breeze, while those who tried to fight them with words only prolonged the drama? Choosing not to engage with baseless chatter keeps your peace intact and demonstrates emotional maturity. It signals that your sense of self-worth is not dictated by public opinion, but rooted in self-awareness. Stoic silence in the face of slander is an act of quiet rebellion against the noise of the world. It says, "You may speak of me, but I'm not defined by your words," and over time that silence builds credibility far more lasting than any defense could. At times, conversations are laced with misinformation, prejudice, or sheer ignorance. The knee-jerk reaction might be to correct the speaker, challenge their views, or assert your own understanding. But the Stoics offer another way, a quiet patience that observes rather than reacts. Epictetus advised, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." This insight reveals the futility of trying to educate someone unwilling to listen. In such cases, your silence is not agreement, but discernment. It reflects a deeper wisdom, knowing when words would fall on deaf ears. Imagine being in a discussion where someone speaks confidently about a topic they clearly misunderstand. Rather than rushing to correct them, a Stoic would ask, "Is this the right moment? Will my words lead to growth or resistance?" If the latter, silence becomes the better teacher. Your presence, calm and unshaken, often says more than 1,000 corrections. This does not mean we abandon truth or allow ignorance to dominate. Instead, we choose our battles wisely. We plant seeds of wisdom when the soil is fertile, not when it is dry and resistant. A well-timed silence preserves your energy for more meaningful conversations and demonstrates emotional intelligence. In a world obsessed with always having the last word, choosing not to speak can be a radical act. It shifts the focus from being right to being wise. As you walk through life, remember, not every argument deserves your energy and not every falsehood requires your rebuttal. Sometimes letting others speak into the void allows their ignorance to echo louder than your silence ever could. Grief is a language of its own, profound, personal, and often beyond the reach of words. When faced with sorrow, whether our own or another's, Stoicism teaches us to approach it with quiet reverence and respect. Seneca, who wrote extensively on loss and suffering, reminded us that grief is a natural part of life's rhythm. He believed in honoring emotion, not suppressing it, but doing so with dignity and perspective. Silence during grief is not avoidance. It's a sacred space for feeling and healing. When someone we care about is mourning, our first instinct might be to say something, anything, to ease their pain. Yet often, words fall short. The greatest comfort is not found in platitudes, but in presence. Sitting silently with someone in sorrow, holding space for their pain without trying to fix it, is one of the most powerful expressions of compassion. Similarly, when we ourselves are grieving, silence becomes a sanctuary. It allows us to listen to our inner voice, to reflect on what was lost and what remains. It helps us process our emotions without distraction or pressure to move on. In stillness, we come to terms with the impermanence of life, just as the Stoics taught. Grief reshapes us, and through silence, we can honor the transformation, allowing it to unfold naturally without forcing answers or rushing healing. In this way, silence becomes a bridge between pain and peace. Every day, we are tempted by anger, lust, greed, ego, and countless fleeting desires. The Stoics recognized that our greatest battles are not fought outside, but within the mind. In these moments of inner turmoil, silence is our strongest weapon. Zeno, the founder of Stoicism, taught that reason must rule over passion. When we feel the urge to act impulsively, whether to send a harsh message, indulge a craving, or chase temporary pleasure, silence gives us pause. It interrupts the pattern and allows reason to step in. Picture a moment of temptation. You're angry at someone and tempted to lash out with words you can't take back. A few seconds of silence gives you space to evaluate the consequences. It shifts you from reaction to reflection. That brief pause may save a relationship, preserve your dignity, or help you stay aligned with your values. Stoic silence is not passive, it's intentional. It buys us the time to return to ourselves, to ask, is this action guided by virtue or by ego? Will I be proud of this choice tomorrow? In today's world of instant gratification and impulsive reactions, cultivating this silence is revolutionary. It builds emotional resilience, sharpens our self-awareness, and protects us from regret. There are times when life urges us to pause, not out of fatigue, but out of the soul's quiet yearning to understand. These are moments when the mind drifts inward, seeking truth not in noise but in the silent corridors of thought. The Stoics cherished such introspection, for in silence the soul meets itself. Marcus Aurelius often retreated into stillness to examine his thoughts. In his meditations he wrote not for others but to remind himself of what truly mattered. This form of inward dialogue, where silence becomes the mirror of the soul, is where we come face to face with our deepest convictions, fears, and longings. Silence in these moments is not emptiness, it is presence. A presence unmarred by distractions, where our inner compass recalibrates. The world may clamor outside, urging us to chase, consume, and perform, but silence offers an alternate path, one of being rather than becoming. In the quiet, we confront difficult questions. Am I living according to my principles? Have I been honest with myself? What truly holds meaning in my life? These are not questions that demand immediate answers, but they deserve the silence necessary to be heard. The Stoics believe that a well-examined life requires regular stillness. Without reflection, we become puppets of impulse and social conditioning. But with silence, we regain authorship over our story. We cease to drift and begin to steer. So create space in your day for silence, not just the absence of noise, but the kind of sacred stillness that invites self-awareness. Turn off the world's volume and listen. There, beneath the surface, your soul is whispering. Injustice wounds the spirit. When wronged, betrayed, or oppressed, the urge to cry out, to rage, to seek immediate vindication is strong. And yet, Stoicism teaches a higher form of response, not through vengeance or verbal assault, but through unwavering silence and self-command. Epictetus, born a slave and subjected to immense injustice, understood that dignity is not given by the world. It is maintained within. When he was beaten, he reportedly told his master calmly, "If you continue, you'll break my leg." When his leg was broken, he simply said, "I told you so." This was not apathy, it was mastery. Power over self in the face of powerlessness over others. To remain silent when the world tries to provoke you is not to submit but to transcend. It is to deny your oppressor the satisfaction of breaking your spirit. It is to say without speaking, "You may control circumstances, but not who I become in response." This form of silence is not passive. It is active resistance, noble, disciplined, and enduring. It holds injustice accountable not by shouting, but by remaining morally unshaken. It refuses to let bitterness take root. Instead of reacting, it endures, outlasts, and ultimately prevails. Imagine a man wrongly accused, his name tarnished, his truth ignored. Rather than launching into public outrage, he chooses silence. He focuses on living rightly, letting time and integrity reveal the truth. His silence speaks volumes. It declares faith in justice beyond this moment. The Stoic does not deny pain, nor turn a blind eye to evil, but he does not allow the world to make him cruel, or reactive, or bitter. In the face of injustice, he tightens his grip on virtue and lets silence roar louder than protest. In a world driven by the loudest voices and constant stimulation, silence has become an act of discipline, a rare strength. To deliberately choose silence, to resist the urge to speak, to argue, to explain, is to reclaim sovereignty over your impulses. Seneca warned against the tyranny of chatter. He wrote, "It is a great thing to know the season for speech and the season for silence. Not every moment requires a comment, not every confrontation deserves a reply, and not every injustice needs to be met with noise." The Stoic begins each day not by preparing words, but by preparing the mind. He asks, "Will I allow others to dictate my reactions today, or will I remain unmoved, calm, deliberate?" In silence, he sharpens his self-awareness so that when the world tests him, he does not waver. Discipline begins with restraint. The urge to reply to insults, to defend your ego, to assert your opinion, these are temptations. But silence trains the soul. Each time you hold your tongue, you affirm your strength. You rise above petty concerns. You master yourself. This is not the silence of weakness or social anxiety. It is the silence of the warrior monk, the one who speaks only when necessary and whose presence commands more than words ever could. His silence is not empty, it is full of intention, focus, power. Make silence your daily ritual. Let it be the invisible armor you wear, not to escape the world, but to engage it on your own terms from a position of stillness, strategy, and strength. In the end, silence is not the absence of power, it is its purest form. A Stoic does not speak to impress, nor remain silent to avoid. He chooses his words like a sculptor chooses his strokes, with purpose, with patience, with poise. When you choose silence, you return to yourself. You rise above the noise of the crowd and listen to the only voice that matters, the inner voice guided by reason, virtue, and clarity. This voice, once drowned by chaos, becomes the compass that steers your life. So practice silence, not just in moments of pain, but in moments of strength. Speak when it serves virtue, withhold when it serves wisdom. Let your actions speak for you. Let your composure declare your strength. Let your silence become your most eloquent reply. As Marcus Aurelius once reminded himself, the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. And what better way to show your strength than to remain unmoved, unshaken, and silent? Please like, share, and subscribe for more videos.